All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about SQL injection. You've probably heard the name. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book when it comes to web hacking. But don't let its age fool you. It is incredibly powerful and, as you're about to see, surprisingly simple. There's a really good reason it's a classic. So here's the big question. How can just a few characters, seriously, a tiny string of text, potentially take complete control of an entire website? It sounds like something you'd see in a Hollywood hacker movie, right? Typing some weird symbols into a login form and boom, you're in. Well, this is very, very real. So let's break down exactly how it works. Okay, so what is SQL injection really? At its heart, it's all about tricking a website's database. Think of it like this. You're giving instructions to a very literal-minded robot. An attacker comes along and just whispers a few extra malicious instructions into the middle of your list. The robot? It has no idea who's talking. It just sees one long command and executes all of it. No questions asked. And the fallout from this? It can be absolutely catastrophic. We're talking about an attacker getting to see data they should never see. They can change things, delete your data entirely, and in the worst case scenario, they could compromise the entire server the website is running on. So let's be super clear. This isn't some tiny little bug. It's a massive, critical security hole. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We'll start with a really simple but super effective scenario. We're going to see how an attacker can peek behind the curtain and see stuff they're not supposed to, all thanks to a clever little thing called the comment trick. So, picture this. You're on a shopping website, and you click on a product category. In the background, the site sends a command to its database that says something like, hey, show me everything from the products table. And this is the important part, only show the ones where the released status is set to 1. That little check is what keeps the unreleased stuff hidden. Okay, now look at this. On the left, you've got the normal intended query. Totally standard. But on the right, that's the attacker's version. Look closely. The change is so small. They've just added a single quote and 2 hyphens. That's it. It looks like nothing, right? But that tiny addition completely breaks the logic of the query. And here is the magic trick. In the world of SQL, that double hyphen is a comment character. It tells the database, hey, anything you see after this, just ignore it. So the database sees that double hyphen and just stops reading. That whole part about and released equals 1, it gets completely ignored. And boom! Suddenly, every single product, released or not, shows up on the page. Okay, so viewing hidden stuff is one thing. But now, let's raise the stakes. We're going to level up to something way more serious. Actually bypassing a login page. We're talking about getting into an account without a password. This is basically the digital version of a master key that can open any door. Think about any login form you've ever used. When you hit submit, the website is building a query for the database that basically asks, can you please find me a user where their username matches this and the password matches that? You need both to be correct for it to work. That and is crucial. And here we go again. You can probably see where this is going. On the left, a normal login. But look at the right. The attacker is being bold. For the username, they type administrator dash dash. They don't even bother with the password. Their target, the most powerful account on the entire site. And you guessed it, that same little comment trick does all the heavy lifting. The database starts to process the query. Find a user where the username is administrator, and then it hits those 2 hyphens. And again, it just stops reading. The whole part about checking the password, poof, gone. The database finds the administrator user, the logic is satisfied, and the attacker is in, just like that. All right, time for the final act. This next one is called a union attack, and this is where things get really scary. We're not just bypassing things anymore. With this technique, an attacker can start pulling data from completely different parts of the database, like, say, a table that just happens to store everyone's usernames and passwords. So there's this command in SQL called union. It's a totally normal, useful tool. Its job is to take the results from 2 separate searches and just stitch them together into one big list. What attackers do is they hijack this. They let the website run its normal, harmless query, and then they use union to tack on the results of their own malicious query right at the end. Now, this isn't a total free-for-all. To make this work, the attacker has to follow a couple of rules. Their malicious query has to have the exact same number of columns as the original one. And second, the type of data in each column has to line up. You can't put text where a number should go. It's a bit of a puzzle for the attacker, but it's totally doable. And this right here shows you exactly what happens. The web page thinks it's just showing a list of product names and prices, but because of the union attack, the attacker has secretly added the usernames and passwords from the users table into that very same list. To a regular user, it just looks like a glitch. To the attacker, it's a treasure chest. And this is the little piece of code, the payload, that makes it all happen. It breaks out of the original command with a quote, then it injects its own powerful command. Union select username, password from users. And to clean up, it uses our old friend, the double hyphen comment, to ignore anything that comes after. Simple, elegant, and just unbelievably dangerous. Okay, so we've seen 3 different, pretty devastating attacks. But it all begs the question, why does this even work? What's the fundamental problem here that lets this happen in the first place? Why is a database so easily tricked? And it all boils down to this one single concept. The root of the problem is that the application is mixing up 2 things that should always be separate: code and data. It takes the stuff you typed in a box, which is data, and smashes it right into the middle of its own database commands, which is code. The database can't tell the difference. It just sees one long command and assumes it's supposed to run it. So, how do we fix this? Well, thankfully, the solution has been around for a very long time. It's called using parameterized queries. The idea is simple. Instead of building one big messy string, the developer first sends the command, the code, to the database with placeholders. Then, in a completely separate step, they send the user's input, the data. This way, the database always knows what's a command and what's just plain old data. It never gets confused. And that really brings us full circle. We've seen how just a handful of characters can completely tear down a website's defenses. It's a pretty stark reminder that the simplest things can sometimes have the biggest impact. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? After seeing how this works, how secure is the data you've got stored out there on the web? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.